To begin this presentation, I want to start with a brief introduction into what Facebook is and what it provides. Facebook is a largely popular social networking site dedicated to allowing users to share pictures, files, stories, news or otherwise, and opinions through online posts. It is highly personable as a result of the fact that users can choose who they want to follow or subscribe to, and which people they want as friends. Users also have the ability to follow different organizations such as companies, NGOs, and otherwise. It is a platform that is used for both leisure and professional purposes. Facebook has over 900 million users, and more than 500 million of these logins occur through mobile technology. Facebook can be said to have an abundance of social capital, as it provides a platform that allows for an extensive network of individuals to connect, share, and be given the potential to collaborate. Communication scholars Ranieri, Manka, and Feeney describe Facebook technology as the ability to, I quote, expand, enhance, and accelerate an individual's social network within an increase in available information, opportunities, and benefits from this wide and heterogeneous network. Another important term is new media and what role new media plays in the role of journalism, which will directly link back to Facebook and the feature of this presentation. Facebook as a form of new media is considered a product of Web 2.0. This kind of social networking site or participatory media plays an important role in how society generates and disseminates information. The public sphere is described by Habermas as the site where deliberations about important civic concerns occur and where the public consensus takes shape. It is a space where the public has the opportunity to contribute to meaningful political discussion. The public sphere of the present is now online. Physical barriers have been overcome, and virtual space has become vital to the discourse of these political discussions. Habermas, however, believes that these spheres should be limited to only a certain portion of the population, and that these discussions should be rational. New media challenges this critique, as it is open to almost anyone. Anyone can access these discussions, and there is no filtering system in place in order to censor discussions. Facebook acts as a modern location for a public sphere. This presentation will aim to describe some of these impacts that new media has on the public sphere, as well as invoke questions on this topic. New media is significant because it has changed the way we disseminate news content and the way content is created and consumed. Facebook offers a prime example of this, but there are many social media sites that function in the same manner. The process of dissemination has changed because new media is essentially the convergence of technologies. Content is being shared across multiple media platforms. This, in conjunction with new media tools such as Facebook, which offer personalized services, creates an environment where information sharing can be both horizontal and vertical in nature. Moreover, sites such as Facebook are constantly being updated and changed. John Pavlik describes this new media content as in a constant state of flux and continuous in nature. New media technologies have also changed the way in which content is created. In the context of this presentation, it is significant to point out that new media has had a profound impact on citizen journalism. Citizen journalism is a fairly broad term, as the description below implies. It can be defined as a multitude of different ways of sharing, creating, or contributing to information. This form of journalism has been made possible because of the increasing pattern of the consumer taking the role of the producer. User-generated content is becoming increasingly popular, the result being that a larger number and more diverse group of people can contribute to discussions and the production of content in the public sphere. News content no longer relies solely on professionals. Now any person with a mobile phone can use this technology to record or document an event. The mobility within new media has opened up a whole new way to record and document information. As John Pavlik describes, I quote, digital tools for news gathering, communication, editing, and production have become increasingly portable, inexpensive, and powerful. Lastly, new media allows for news content to be very personable. As discussed earlier, Facebook has flexibility in these features. Users can subscribe or block content distributors. Each user can choose what kind of content they would like to receive and how they would like theirs to be shared. I believe it is fundamental to question whether or not these social media avenues contribute to meaningful political discussion and action. Does this process provide real social impact and promote democratic values in the public sphere? Citizen journalism comes in many forms, and it has the potential to spark an abundance of different discussions. What citizens share stories and photos through Facebook? What type of civic engagement is established? The photograph on the left I found shared by one of my Facebook friends. I believe that the existence of this photograph accurately represents the concern and frustration some citizens have over the fact that content shared via social media platforms can lack rational thought and correct information. As these social media platforms have no system for fact-checking information, this can lead to many problems in what information the masses are consuming. Communications scholar Pantelis Vatikotis identifies several of the factors involved in determining the impact of digital media on political participation. Overall, Vatikotis promotes the belief that because tools such as social media harbor an environment for political discussions to take place, they are inherently beneficial to society, and the future of our civic engagement relies on this new type of technology. He believes that political engagement will proceed to rely upon privatized spaces of consumption, and in particular consumer culture. By using social media tools to blog and perform civil activities, this digital media allows us to create an environment for self-reflection and the plurality of voices. We should also consider the role of identities and how they contribute to the nature of content disseminated across social media platforms. With the rise of social media platforms such as Facebook, a term has arisen coined digital identity. Online users have the ability to construct their identities in any way they please using the virtual world. As Stephen Warburton and Hatzbanyos points out, and I quote, "The development of the virtual life increases the demands for trust and interpersonal communication. Building, testing, and maintaining identity might lead to pretensions and precautions. To this extent, it is important to realize that what a person shares online may be a form of self-expression to fit a certain identity, and with this comes the potential for bias or the promotion of a particular agenda. This comes with the question, do these ideas and have agendas behind their posts, shares, or picture sharing? How do these agendas affect citizen journalism?" Following the discussion about identities and personal agendas, there are many organizations online who utilize social media platforms such as Facebook to promote their political interests, essentially as a tool for propaganda and manipulation purposes. This is perhaps one of the most harmful effects of new media technology, such as Facebook. ISIS is one example of this. They have used this form of journalism to promote their extremist identity and showcase their power to the world. The picture to the right is an example of this. Here is a picture depicting the aftermath of a killing in order to intimidate those who do not believe in the same ideals as the ISIS followers or members. By sharing information such as this picture or other similar types of journalism online, ISIS hopes to prove their success and promote the joining of followers. Platforms such as this are used to scare, manipulate, and also organize the functioning of these types of organizations. Anonymous is yet another example of how this ability to freely disseminate information can be misused. Anonymous is an online group of hackers that work to lessen internet censorship and privacy violations around the world. Below you can see a picture of their Facebook page, which is used to share censored information and promote their profile. This organization is dangerous because it works above the law. Another social phenomenon I thought I would bring up in this discussion is the debate around using or changing one's profile picture as a form of disseminating information. Though not a traditional form of citizen journalism, this trend on Facebook to bring about attention and honor an event can be seen as a form of information sharing. I question if this act is meaningful. Is this an effective way of spreading information after tragedies such as the recent Paris attacks or after gay marriage was legalized in the US? Does journalism in this form subject the content to a lesser standard? By this, I mean that by consuming information in this manner, seeing others' profile pictures, and then changing our own, does this actually undermine the events that have taken place? Should something as tragic as the Paris attacks be commemorated with a simple click of a mouse? Is this true mourning? Is the event desensitized for us? Do we feel more connected to the people of France, or are we just pretending to be? How long before we change our profile picture back to normal? And what about the other tragic events going on in the world? Is this a form of sensationalism on Facebook, or does it create meaningful impact and worldwide unity? This is very subjective but interesting given the topic of citizen journalism and the many forms that it comes in. I found a recent article written by a man in the last month that describes the ability for Facebook to provide this kind of journalism, but the controversy surrounding this action. And I quote, "Although it's great that Facebook allows us to show compassion in the event of a tragedy, my fear is that such a biased distinction between events that are worthy of mass Facebook mourning and those that are not only deepens the divisions between people. What we choose to share or not share defines us as individuals, but also as a society. In this way, citizen journalism and the abilities created by new media can be subjective and controversial in more ways than one." One of the questions that comes to mind is how the user-generated content is consumed. Earlier, we evaluated the technological and social implications of how the content was created and distributed, but it is also important to determine how the content is absorbed. Through platforms such as Facebook, Though platforms such as Facebook have no official way to filter information provided on their site, feedback is an important variable to consider. Viewers of content have the ability to then assimilate back into producers to comment, post more information, pictures, on the original publications. This has the potential to change the original message. It is also important to ask how much users depend on new media tools such as Facebook for political discussion and news in general. Scholar Marcus Prior calls this byproduct learning. How media content is delivered to the user, including its format and ease of access, will determine how much information is absorbed by the user. It is common for people to learn about political information through an informal sector and to come to rely on these facts. This is because it is the easiest and most efficient way of consuming this type of knowledge. For some, they may find this information through what Prayer coins as entertainment-seeking behavior. Facebook is an excellent example of this, a platform that is a mixture of both an informal and formal environment, where many of these ideas intersect. The two largest concerns with the Facebook platform as a means to provide citizen journalism and meaningful participation in the public sphere is that this type of media may be too heavily relied upon, despite the fact that each contribution contains very little content and is always mixed with the informal sector. Perhaps we rely too heavily upon citizen journalism. The content created on these sites such as Facebook may not focus on enough relevant information, or they may be biased or incorrect. In the Canadian elections, the majority of content produced by citizen journalists consisted of negative and inaccurate information, which again is concerning if this medium is heavily relied upon. When it comes to new media and applications such as Facebook, we may feel as if we know more, but it may be that we know a little about a lot, but not enough to come to a rational conclusion. As much as we see citizen journalism and Facebook spark heated interest in political discussions, is it also possible to see the opposite occur? In the UK Daily Mail, an article was published explaining that Facebook users are less likely than others to share their political opinions online. This mode of thinking, then, I quote, challenges the view of social media as a vehicle for debate. How can we have an effective public sphere when we are afraid to express our voices? It is called the spiral of silence phenomenon. It means that if you believe your audience might find something that you say to be controversial, you will choose to say nothing at all. The Daily Mail article goes on to describe a survey that was taken after the Edward Snowden leakages. 1,801 adults were questioned on whether they would answer questions about government surveillance in person or in a social setting that was not online. 86% said yes, but when Facebook or Twitter users were asked, only 42 responded saying that they would be able to have discussions about this topic online. So then, what are the reasons we might avoid expressing our opinions and avoiding contributing to the public sphere? Many users are afraid to have their reputation sacrificed and risk losing friends or business contacts. These disagreements online have the potential to become problems offline as well. Essentially, this fear to contribute or avoid contributing ideas creates a polarized society. I'm going to now discuss two examples of the use of citizen journalism within Facebook and how it affects the public sphere in society. The Arab Spring arguably began in 2011 when a fruit vendor, Mohammed Bouzazi, lit himself on fire to protest police corruption. This act was recorded and shared on social media and would soon after spark the fire of a rebellion. Citizen journalism through social media applications played a key part in directing this protest movement. The masses were enabled to mobilize and take action. Applications of social media in this context were both positive and negative. Citizen journalism gives power back to the people, but it also can cause chaos with the click of a button. This changes the power structure. We no longer live in a world where the power only comes from the top. An article from the Huffington Post explains, I quote, "No longer do head of states or sophisticated terrorist organizations have the monopoly to press those dangerous buttons. It would now seem that those buttons are now available for those who want to spend $199 or for faster uploads, $399 for the latest iPhone." The reason I've chosen to discuss the Paris attacks, especially in the context of Facebook, is because if it wasn't for citizen journalism, my experience with this event would have been very different. I was in Athens during the time of the attacks, a lot closer than the majority of my family back in Canada, but nonetheless it was quite unique for me because I was experiencing the attacks in real time. It was late in the evening and I was scrolling through my Facebook feed. I saw that someone had uploaded a video of people running out of a building, and then I heard gunshots. This was one of the first footages to be shown up on the night of the attacks. It was a very surreal, the whole experience, because it's as if I was living in the same area. Every now and then another piece of content was produced to fill in more of the story. It was raw and it was scary. and when I turned on the radio, I could hear more news filling me in. In the days that followed, my Facebook feed was filled with different accounts, personal stories, and images reflecting what had happened that day and calling for change. Taking into account everything I have just previously discussed in this presentation, I find that while tragedies such as this need to be reported, and new media enables us, the world, to join together and take a stand, citizen journalism can also be very informal and cause us to circulate incorrect information or heavily weighted information. The ISIS organization, in this instance, most likely wanted something like this to occur. Worldwide panic and a narrow scope of information to pollute the news environment. Without dismissing the tragedy of the event, the circulation of information after the event seemed to be a propaganda win for the terrorists. I think this accurately represents how interconnected we all are with new media and how powerful platforms such as Facebook are for contributing to citizen journalism.